good morning and welcome to our mini course on a very rough introduction to Buddhism and mindfulness. For those of you who are in the group, of course you know that I am May and I've been a practicing Vajrayana Buddhist since I was 16 years old. So that's more than 21 years now, so that's quite a long time. So hopefully what I've learned, in terms of the factual things, in terms of the practical things of how to practice, as well as all the more magical and mythical things, because of course I'm quite big on things like spirituality, and I love all my crazy things and the magic, the card readings, all that, and connecting to the divine and that essence. So yeah, hopefully you enjoy joining me here and learning bits and snippets about this way of life. It's often called a way of life because it's more kind of a moment by moment practice, so your whole life can actually be the actual practice. That's why it's more kind of a way of life and a way of living. But let's see how you get on with it. I've made a little chart, but I'm not sure whether it's going to show up properly on the video. So this is my very, very, very rough chart. Of course, it's not probably all the schools are not completely here, but they're not entirely correct. I hope it just doesn't turn out funny as well in the video. Might be a mirror effect. If it does, I apologize for that. And anyway, so basically what I've done here is just kind of quickly chart out very quickly. So you have the original Buddha, who is more than 2,500 years ago. So he achieved enlightenment through his practice. He was originally a prince, so he left all that behind to do a very serious holy practice, and he explored all sorts of forms. So coming from a Hindu background, he explored everything from yoga to fasting to wisdom to meditation, and so he finally achieved enlightenment. So he had lots and lots of students, and from his students, after he passed away and entered nirvana, the students branched out into different schools. So you have the Theravada school, who is the more kind of pure, exactly how they were taught, exactly how they were practiced. They tried to keep to the original. And then you had other students of the Buddha who went off and kind of did their own thing and started things like a big umbrella, which is called the Mahayana School. So they're kind of branching out to many, many different schools, because the Buddha did say, there's thousands of doors, thousands and thousands for each being. So there's no one particular way where you definitely have to follow. So it's many different ways and different forms that people can reach enlightenment with. So you have the Mahayana School that includes more famous schools such as the Zen or the Pure Land and so on. Then you also have a branch which is sometimes considered under the Mahayana, but sometimes also considered separately, which is Vajrayana. And this is the school where most of the Tibetan schools actually follow this path, which is Vajrayana. And it's often named that, the Theravada, the pure schools, are usually called the smaller wheel, whereas the big schools, not big schools, sorry, that's the wrong phrase. The Mahayana and Vajrayana schools are often described as the big wheel. That's what I was trying to say. The difference between this wheel is that it's believed, the path itself is like a vehicle, basically. So it's a vehicle that can transport living beings, sentient beings, so human forms, into enlightenment. So as long as you follow the path and practice, then likelihood that one day you will achieve enlightenment. So that's why it's described as a wheel. And why one is called a smaller wheel and the other one a bigger wheel is actually down to the fact of how it's actually practiced. Because in the Theravada school, what their main focus is self-liberation, basically achieving enlightenment for your own self. So you focus, the main focus is actually on your own self-practice, on your own meditation, on you actually achieving enlightenment. Whereas why the Mahayana and Vajrayana schools are often called the bigger vehicle or the bigger wheel, because that their focus is also on achieving enlightenment for yourself, but you have to take on the mindfulness that's actually helping others as well. So it's not only just about you. If you achieve enlightenment, it's not only for your own sake, but it's for the sake of all living beings. So you adopt an attitude where you treat every single living being as, as family almost, like a mother to a child. You would extend that loving kindness to every single living being, because liberation and enlightenment is not only for yourself, but for the sake of everyone. So compassion is one of the main things that's practiced, and is a practice that not only, about you sitting in meditation, you have to actually go out there, help people, and do the things that you do. And hopefully, other people will benefit from your action, and other people will also achieve enlightenment. That's how the bigger wheel actually works. Now, I've been practicing as a Vajrayana Buddhist for a very, very long time. And it also probably explains, why I've done some of the things that I do with this group. For example, all the things that I offer here, or the help and support that I offer here, is part of my karma yoga. It's part of, what I want to do to help others. And, it's not very rarely I will actually ask for, a price on something, because, it's, even when there is something that I run, it's mainly donation based, and it's usually donation for charity rather than myself, because this group and this circle is what I've run as part of my will to actually help others. So, and also this course is also the same. So, but if you find, because this is a very rough kind of, based on my experience, explanation of everything. So do bear in mind that not every single Buddhist will tell you the exact same thing, but vaguely this is how it is practiced. Basically, this is what the nutshell is. So what basically is the essence of the belief in Buddhism? So you've got, no matter whether you're Therevadan or whether you're Mahayana or you're Vajrayana, you will have, the core goes back to these founding principles, which is set by the Buddha himself, the realization by the Buddha himself. The first one is called the Four Noble Truths. And the Four Noble Truths is basically what the Buddha discovered and realized. So very vaguely, the first one is that, as long as you're living, there is suffering. So in human life, whether you're animal, human, spirit, there is some form of suffering, as long as, you're in this samsara world. And then the second is that this suffering is actually caused by things like greed, hatred, and ignorance, which is quite telling that we all kind of know in some form. And then the third one is that the path to actually leave suffering actually exists. So there is such a thing as nirvana, that you can actually jump out of this suffering, or enlightenment, if you like to call it. And then the fourth one is the fourth truth, which means that to overcome the suffering, you can follow the Eightfold Path and the middle way. So a lot of you probably notice that Buddhists tend to be, or they try to be, or I most certainly try to be, they try to be quite middle in their perception of things, you know, trying to avoid going to both extremes, you know, trying to see the whole picture and then taking a kind of middle path to things and making decisions based on that. Because this is called the middle path, you know, understanding when you go to either extremes, that's when the trouble or chaos or suffering actually kicks in a lot of the times, you know, wanting something too much or not actually caring about it at all, you know, it's too much of a sway of seesaw, if you like. And so the Eightfold Path is also part of this middle way. So the whole philosophy of middle way is to know about being aware about the extremes and actually understanding where you stand in that extreme, and also deciding whether you want to be in that extreme or you want to walk the middle path or not. So that's a very vague middle path concept, but we will talk more about it later. And then, so the Eightfold Path, I'll just quickly run this through. Is that, okay, so you've got the wisdom side of things, which is, for example, the right understanding, the right thought, and then you've got the ethical, how to conduct yourself kind of ideas, having the right speech, you know, not saying harmful things to people, having the right action with the intention of, you know, helping people, having the right livelihood, you know, having a job that actually is not stealing, is not, you know, making this world a worse place, or kind of doing something that benefits others as your occupation. And then you've also got the mental discipline to focus on the actual mind, because, you know, of course, our life in its own form is a massive meditation of a sort. So there's the right effort to make the right effort, the right practices, to do the right things, to actually do your practice. And then you've got the right mindfulness, that awareness of moment to moment, that every living moment is your practice. And then the right concentration to actually go into what we call samadhi, which is the gist of meditation, that, you know, that calm brilliance that you achieve when you're just like in that flow of meditation. So these are the Eightfold Paths. So these are the methods prescribed by the Buddha himself on how to actually overcome your kind of frustrations, overcome the feelings of greed or hatred or ignorance or whatever that stems from greed, hatred and ignorance. Because of course, actually a lot of the things, when we get upset, it's a lot of the time to do with the ego. You know, whether the importance of the ego ourselves, or whether we desire something in our greed, or wanting that, grasping that, and holding on to that, or whether it's, you know, because we just don't want to know about anything and we just want it the way that we want it, in that kind of ignorance that, you know, this is how it is, this is the world, and that's it, and I'm going to get it that way because you're all wrong. And the world doesn't work like that, and people don't work like that. And certainly most of the time, you know, even though our egos can tell us, you know, you are so important, you should get this, or you should, you know, you should be entitled to blah, 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 and you will be blah, blah, blah. But when we really calm down and think about these things, you know, okay, you ask yourself, what's involved here? Why am I getting upset? What is the actual, real, truthful, honest to myself and my heart reason of why I'm upset here? Is it because I want something and I'm not getting it? Or is it because, you know, everyone is evil or something like that? And a lot of the times, if we really kind of face our egos face to face, we'll actually find out that actually a lot of it does stem from our egos, of this desire of wanting, which does come back to things like greed, hatred and ignorance, which in Buddhism is often described as the three poisons. So, and a little introduction here of this is the Bodhisattva of Vajrasattva. So that's his name with his consort, Vajragavi. And this is a Vajrayana deity. So the Vajrayana school tend to be a bit more mystical and mythical. So we've got, because it also stems from a lot of the old age of the Tibetan schools, where they used to have like their Bon religions, where they used to have a bit of magic, a bit of priesthood and everything chucked into the plate. And so then when Buddhism went to Tibet, it became a fusion of actually combining the rituals that are good and that are forthright, as well as merging them with Buddhism, because the great Bodhisattva and Buddha who actually went to brought Buddhism all the way to Tibet and made it actually flourish, and conquered so many difficulties there in his time, was Padmasambhava. So he's often known as the great founding father and a great Buddha who has brought this religion to life. And actually he went in with the idea that we're not cutting out your original beliefs. We're not saying stop what you're doing, but we're embracing all the good in what you already believe in, and we're hoping to help you even more and teach you this path that actually works very well. And that's one of the reasons why Vajrayana is often also called the diamond path, the indestructible, like the diamond. So it's really concrete and really shining and brilliant at the same time. And also Vajrayana can also be known and a different name, which is also Tantra. So Tantra represents many things, and often when people hear Tantra, they think automatically of sex. But the origins of Tantra goes back to the mythical and the ritualistic. But at the same time, why does actually Tantra have this link that is mostly widely known? People think of sex immediately. And you can also see, Vajrasattva, who is holding his consort, his wife, in an embrace position. But actually, it's because what was taught originally was that this was actually pure love. It was not taught in the sense of, oh, this is sex. But actually, no matter who you are, whether you're a monk or you're a man with your wife, or whether you have family or you're alone, you can practice this great compassionate love that is part of your path. So everything in your path, even the ordinary, down to brushing your teeth or kissing your wife goodnight, can be your practice. And this is where the essence of it actually goes back to. So yeah, hopefully I've explained in quite a long nutshell, and it makes sense to you. And a few more videos will be coming in this week as we progress through, and there'll also be posts about all the things I've mentioned, so you can catch up on, read up on the material, look at things and gather the facts and everything. I hope you enjoy this course, and I hope to see you back here very soon. So do come on to this page and just watch the rest of the videos or just get the information. Have a lovely day. Take good care, guys. Bye. That's video number 1.